Sorry, detectives. I know you're just coming off a case, but I'm afraid we're gonna have to make a detour.
Sounds serious. Is it a riot?
A call went out just before I picked you up. Said it was multiple homicides. Half a dozen units already on scene.
131, please advise.
Hey, maybe it's the ghost of that doctor who went schizo and chopped up all those patients.
That's not what happened. Some patients disappeared. Some kind of scandal?
Still, gives you the creeps, doesn't it?
127, 124, please respond.
Joseph, you think there's a connection?
It's a possibility. I believe the records were sealed.
Anyone on scene, respond.
Joseph Oda is probably Sebastian's biggest ally throughout the events of the game The Evil Within, with a good chunk of the game seeing the detective duo pairing up to try and make sense of what's going on. However, despite him being the person we spend the most time with, he's actually one of the few characters that we don't learn a whole lot about, either in the base game or the ensuing DLCs. However, we do know a little bit about his background via an art book that was released for the game entitled The Art of the Evil Within. The book states that Joseph is actually married, and much like Sebastian, the couple have a daughter. We also get quite a few bits of more trivial information about him, such as what he eats for breakfast, his family's lineage, as well as the fact that his glasses were a keepsake from his grandfather, giving new context to the section in which he loses them.
What is it?
I dropped my glasses back there.
Fuck.
Joseph, as he appears in the game, is a very competent and by-the-books detective, often picking up on things that Sebastian misses thanks to his meticulous attention to detail, keeping a notebook with him which he uses to keep track of anything that could potentially be of use to the duo at a later time. Whereas Sebastian is a more blunt and direct individual, Joseph seems to have a more passive nature, and these two approaches undoubtedly complement each other in their detective work.
What do you make of this writing?
Doesn't mean anything to me, should it?
Hold on a second, I jotted something down earlier. It seems the sacrifices need to be lowered onto the proper altars, and the safe way to him will be open.
However, while Joseph's personality may have its strengths for detective work, it's also what seems to make him more susceptible to domination while within STEM. More so than any other character, Joseph struggles with holding back his transformation into a haunted, as we can see its effects on him very visibly for most of the time that we spend with him. It's also Joseph who gives us the biggest insight into how it actually feels when a person is attempting to stave off the transformation.
Sebastian, you ever had the urge to just jump? When you're on a high place, or the subway rolls by. Imagine if you had that urge for a minute straight, then 2 minutes.
You fought it off 3 times now, Joseph. You're learning to stop it.
You're not listening. I'm not worried about stopping it, Seb. I'm worried about not wanting to stop it.
Other than these things, however, we don't know much about Joseph other than what can be picked up from his interactions with Sebastian. It's also through these interactions that we get a bit more context of what kind of a person Joseph actually is, as well as backstory into the kind of relationship that he shares with Sebastian. The two have been partners for several years before the events of the game, and as such, they share a certain level of trust between one another. However, as we figure out after Joseph has a breakdown near the middle of the game, since the death of Sebastian's daughter and the disappearance of his wife, their relationship has gotten a bit more strained, with Sebastian turning to alcohol to numb his sorrows, of course his work beginning to slip as a result. And in an attempt to protect his longtime friend from being kicked off the force, Joseph turned him into internal affairs.
Is this what it was like, Seb? After the accident?
Well, I never put a gun to my head.
No, of course not. Just quietly sank into a bottle.
We can't all be perfect. It never affected my work. But hey, you read the IA report.
You know I didn't report you because I was worried about your work, Sebastian.
What else is there?
This act gives the relationship a sour tone, And while the two of them still have faith in the other's abilities, the tone between them seems to be more professional than friendly. This act also gives us insight into the kind of person that Joseph is. He's a person of honor, willing to do something that could make his partner hate him, but he does it anyway because he knows it's the most beneficial act that he can perform for his friend. And ultimately, it's this sense of honor and duty that drive him to his final known fate of the first game.
It's not your fault. I'm sorry.
Stop.
You don't understand. You don't know what you'll become.
I do. I've seen it.
You don't understand what Ruvik is after.
So tell me, what is he after?
He's after Leslie.
What, he needs to finish his science project?
Don't patronize me. I have orders. I can't let him have this boy. Leslie is the only one he can...